Hello there, this is David Sale, the Sage Cataloging Specialist, and in this video we're going to take a look at the process of batch import. And this is what we call it when we're importing multiple MARC records at the same time, as opposed to the Z3950 import where you bring in one record at a time. So we're not in the Evergreen window right now because in order to import a batch of MARC records, first we have to get our hands on a batch of MARC records. And the place where you're probably going to be doing that is from OCLC Connexion or OCLC Cat Express. Now, this is a subscription-based service, and not every library has a subscription. So you'll need to check with your director or with your senior catalogers if you're not aware whether you are or not. If you are, you should have an authorization code and a password that you can then use to log into this website here, connexion.oclc.org. So I've put in my authorization and password, and I'm going to go ahead and log on. As you'll see, it's a fairly no-frills sort of a website here. The search options, basic and advanced. Basic we'll take a look at for a minute here. There's a set of radio buttons over here. The default is standard number, which is to say ISBN or other. You can also search by title or by keywords. So in the advanced menu then, this has the more familiar limiters where you can search by author, by title, by, well, let's see here, keywords, by Library of Congress number, by the OCLC number, which is, as you'll recall, in field 035 of the MARC record, and so on and so forth here. Series name also may be helpful. So, as with the advanced search in Evergreen, you can use these limiters to search by author and by title and by publisher, and then get an exact match that fulfills all three of those criteria. For today, we're just going to try the basic out here. And I'm going to look for an audio book here in OCLC Connexion. As it happens, this audio book has an ISBN displayed on it. Not all of them do. So we'll enter it here. And hit search. And here we are. This is the record in question. It's an abridged edition. The reason that I am searching for this record is because the Sage catalog presently only has a record for the unabridged version. Every time that you have a difference like this, you will need to import another record, as the abridged and the unabridged versions are very different and each require a separate description from each other. So now that we've looked over this record briefly and see that it meets our needs, we'll go over here and click on Save to Catalog. Now, you'll notice here that it pops up and says record available for download within 24 hours. Unfortunately, that is how the service works. So, meanwhile, I'm going to proceed to look for another item that I need to add to the catalog. And for this one, I'm going to use the advanced search, as I'm not finding an ISBN handy on the item. Let's give it a try here. Search for search for title. Okay, and author, author last name first, as always. Okay, so this is a juvenile fiction part of a series here, and let's see what comes up when we do just a title and author search for this. And yep, here we are, Julia and Her Pony, fiction, juvenile works, paperback, all matches up. So we'll save this one to the catalog as well. And so I have a few more books here that I need to track down in OCLC. But rather than go through this process over and over again, I think you've got a pretty good idea of how it works. So for right now, I'm going to pause this recording, track down and mark the rest of these records, and then when they're ready to be downloaded, we'll resume this recording. Okay, we're here again, and some time having passed, we're going to get ready to import a batch of MARC records into Evergreen. So we've previously have chosen a batch of records from the OCLC Cat Express service, which I'm logging on to here. Now we log in again, and we need to download them. So from the menu here, we choose Download Records, and this is where it gets a little confusing because they have one download page for every type of record available from OCLC, most of which a Cat Express subscription doesn't actually entitle you to receive. The MARC subscription records and reports is the link that you need to click on in the OCLC Cat Express download page in order to find what you're looking for. Now, the records here are arranged in reverse chronological order, quote unquote. That is to say that the most recent batch of records that you have marked as wanting to download will be displayed on the top, like so. So click Download, and as you can see down here in the tray of my browser, the folder, the file will appear here, and move it to some place where you can find it again easily. I prefer to put them on the desktop. So having done that, we can jump over into Evergreen and import our downloaded records into the system using the Batch Express, the batch import. So, logging in here. Now, when we get into Evergreen, we want to go to the MARC Batch Import and Export menu here from the main screen. So we click on that, and here we are. Evergreen MARC file upload. Now the default setting is bibliographic records, and that's what we're importing. we'll want to create a new upload queue if you don't have one already. It's generally better to create a new queue each time, and then when you're finished importing the records, to delete the queue, and we'll show how this works as we go along. Okay, so it matches to bucket. And so let's see here. Let's see, select a record source, OCLC. That should work. Record match set. For some reason, it's not giving me a value to choose from, but that is not a worry for right now. So merge profile, OCLC, and we'll want to choose import non-matching records. Now, I'm selecting the import non-matching records because these are records for items that I have already searched for in Sage Holdings, and I know that we don't have these records in our system currently. Otherwise, I might be concerned about importing a duplicate record by mistake, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute here. So now we go to the file to upload. And here we will want to track down the file that we recently put onto our desktop, and there it is. It's in a .bin format, so it should be fairly easy to find. So clicking on upload here, and you'll see a status bar appear. And this is going to take a little while here, and the more records you have in your batch, the longer it will take. I have about 10 here. I only showed you 2 on the last segment, but you're already familiar with how the search works. So here are the records that are in this batch. This one here was one of the ones that you saw me do a search for in Cat Express. The others here, I'm going to look through them briefly and make sure that all of them are there, and that all of them correspond to the stack of books here on my desk that are waiting to be cataloged. And it checks out just fine, so we're going to go ahead and choose the Import Select Records link here. And go ahead and choose Import. We're not merging on Import here. We're not overlaying any records in the system. We're simply importing records that are not already there. Overlaying is when you would want to replace a poor quality record in the system with a better quality record that's available from OCLC or another source. Generally, we recommend that you do this through Z3951 record at a time, rather than doing it in batches like this. So now, I believe that our queue has run through here, and we'll do a quick search for the first item on the list, which is the Diana Palmer audio book. And I'll just put in the ISBN here. And here it is. The audiobook, it already has a cover image in place. And from here, then, we are ready to proceed to add volumes as we normally would for any item. You, of course, have seen this done before. So we will skip over that for the time being. Okay, though, there is one thing that we need to remember to do after we go through and attach our items to the records in the batch that we've imported. This is very important. What you need to do is go back to the server settings tab here where you have your queue and then delete it like so. The reason why you do this is because records in a queue are like records in a bucket. You may have seen the record buckets feature here in Evergreen. If not, we won't discuss that feature right now, except to point out that when you put a record in there, it stays in there. Even after you log off, even after you close down Evergreen, it gets saved there. So if you don't delete your queue after you're finished importing it, the next time you want to import a batch of records, you'll import the new batch plus all the records in the old batch that were left over from last time. So remember, always delete the queue of records after you've finished importing them. So with that warning then, as I said, it's simply a matter of going through and creating item records on the bib records, or MARC records, I should say, that you've imported from OCLC, just as you would ordinarily. So I hope that this video has helped you. And if you have questions, you can check out the Indiana Evergreen Software Manual, which is linked on the cataloging support page of the staff wiki. The batch import is discussed in Chapter 24, as I said. And otherwise, don't hesitate to ask for help from myself, the regional mentors, or senior staff at your library. I hope you found this video helpful, and have a good one.